good to go? Can y'all hear me? I was just telling Pastor Darrell, this is like so fancy. So when Pastor Darrell asked me to come speak, and just kind of share a little bit like what God's done in my life, it was like just such an honor because like this is where it all began for me, like with my real encounter with the Lord. And I feel like so many of y'all have just, I know throughout all the craziness and the mess that was just going on, I felt your prayers. And I literally know that you guys never stop praying for me. So I'm just at home. But anyways, so I wanted to get started I just wanted to read this verse really quick. It's in Isaiah, and it really speaks completely to my life and just the redemption of the Lord in general. If I can get my phone to work, I'm sorry, guys. Let me just do this. My service is really bad. So it's Isaiah 1:18, and it says, God invites humanity to engage in a reasoning together with him. Despite the depth of their sins, God promises that even though their sins may be as scarlet or crimson, they will be made as white as snow or wool, symbolizing complete forgiveness and purification. And that verse just means so much to me. It really hits home. And it's just so cool, the redemption of the Lord throughout all the things that just happened, being able to hold on to not just what someone says, but what the Lord says and like what his word says. Like that's what's just been concrete for me. So I just had to start with that. But as Pastor Darrell said, I don't really know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to tell you. I started trying to like take notes and take order, but then it was just confusing me. So I just wanted to kind of just go at it. So I, growing up, I was the oldest of 4 kids, and I had to grow up like really fast. I kind of like throughout my childhood felt like I was kind of just like unseen. I felt like I was like unheard, and I just kind of struggled with like a lot of that. And then I was also the oldest of 4 kids, so I felt like I was like the mom. And now there is everybody goes through things, and in that time my mom was doing the best that she could do then, just like how I've done things, everybody just kind of goes through things. So my mom is still a wonderful mom, but just in this time in my childhood, she was with a man that was like complete domestic violence in the home, and it just did a lot to me. It did a lot. I just remember like so many nights like not really knowing like what was going to happen or what was going to be next. But we all made it through, and like my siblings, which some of them are right here, my siblings, we were like each other's rock. I'm the oldest, and then Markayla, she's under me, and then Danielle, she's under Markayla, and then our little brother, he's the only boy of all of us girls. He's the baby. But anyways, so we all kind of, seen a lot at a young age. We all went through a lot of things that really, like a lot of people, didn't really know too much about. But like I said, in that time, my mom was literally just doing the best that she could do. So anyways, that was as a child. So I also was like extremely, like as time as time went on, I became like extremely codependent. Like very codependent. So I met I met my ex-husband, as many of you guys know, John Quill. I met him, and he and I got married when I was 17, I think, in which the Lord did wonderful things in our marriage and in throughout that time, and there was amazing things that happened. But what I didn't realize was that I was this baby, this kid who was just putting band-aids, on top of these wombs that were still open, and I didn't realize that until now, So when things started in our marriage, we were actually in the ministry, and the Lord had complete dominion. As time went on, we grew closer and closer with God. But then it was like great until it wasn't. Backtrack. We had our son, my oldest son, Henson. I actually now have another kid. His name's Kingston. He's 4. But we had Henson, and it felt so good to have that complete unconditional love. I know he loves me, but just that unconditional love was just something I had never felt before. So that was also a big hard thing for me, because I take such cherish in being a mom, and where life went, it was just so unreal. But anyway, so things were great. Things were good. The Lord had dominion. We had a peaceful household. Then we had started a business, and the business became successful really fast. And it was beginning to become that the business and the working was more important than anything. And to the degree of, wanting to be successful and setting the future, for our kids is what I was always told, but it was really taking a toll on me. I remember always just feeling something's going on, we're wanting to go to church a little less and less, and then I'm not really feeling, I'm really codependent, so I'd never seen my spouse ever, never, and so that was really hard for me. That took a big toll on me at home. I was feeling kind of unseen again. And then here's this little girl that's visiting back up. I felt that. I just also realized, in our marriage. So then we actually had started growing just completely apart. And then, excuse me, it was, the Lord was no longer, I take that back. The Lord was still leading, but less and less and less in better terms, and we did not realize that. That is the craziest thing. That is the craziest thing, was just oh man, it just so fast that I can shoot, and I did not see that. So, I remember hearing my aunt who's sitting in the back, and certain people in my life, who would say Destiny, what's going on? But I didn't realize what was happening. We're okay, we're just really tired. Now, granted, we were working, no days off. And then when we finally were, or when he actually would finally come home, and after me and Henson have been there for so long, by ourselves, oh my goodness, we finally get your time, So it took a big toll that, I just don't know how to explain, other than I feel that's when it kind of had all started, when the business had started doing what it was doing. And I was unhealed from so many things, and he was unhealed from so many things. He had grew up with some hard things in his childhood. But when there's two people who love the Lord and the Lord's leading, but the moment I realize that I come out of line with that, oh my goodness, it just can't be done. It literally, there's no 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and I realize that now, but I didn't see that then. So, sorry, it's the preschool teacher in me. But, I realize that now, and it's just, that in itself is just such a crucial thing that I see, But, so we had started, less and less, and then there was this just a complete shift in our home, and so much money was being made, and it was just, I don't want to say, we weren't ready for it. that's just honesty. Like, we weren't ready for it. You know, I still had healing to do as a kid. He still had healing to do. And the Lord was on the way. Don't get me wrong. The Lord was doing that. And there was a complete turnaround happening in our lives, but we were not ready for all this money, all this stuff, and we weren't ready for that. We still had healing to do at home before, you know, we were ready for all of that. You know, now I'm not saying that we couldn't make money, we couldn't do all that, but it was just too much. So that's kind of like where I feel like it had all started. And I remember now thinking back, like, I'm feeling like things are different, but I didn't know what it was I was really feeling. You know, like, it's almost like, how do I describe it? It's almost like I was feeling like knowing that we're doing something wrong, but not really listening to that voice, because for so long, like, I would always say, like, I don't know what my intuition is. I don't really know what's my, like, but I had it. I knew it. Like, I knew, but I just kept trying to, like, it's okay. So then we had, we had a complete turnaround. It was then we had kind of taken a step back from ministry with the words of, we're gonna, you know, put our all into the business, and we're just gonna get it off the ground, and then we'll go back. Okay, well, that took a while. So but I just have to say, before I even began the whole process, I'm so grateful for. I never ever would have thought that all these years later, what it looked like, how it looked. If you would have asked me this 10 years ago, was this what it's going to look like? Oh, no, I didn't see this one coming, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. But anyway, so it had kind of shifted, or that it didn't kind of, it did. It shifted. And I remember we had taken the step back from ministry. We had taken the step back from ministry. We were putting all in to the business. Now, mind you, we were. But it just, it didn't last too long of doing that. Not long at all. And I felt like I was acknowledging, or I was saying what this problem was with my mouth. But what one person is so important to listen to your spouse, especially, or when someone that loves you and that you love, when they're telling you something, listen. You know, like, I remember saying over and over again, like, I don't feel like I said, I want you to hear me. I want you to listen. I want us to spend time together, you know, like, and I feel like that we need to go to church. We're okay, you know. And then I was like, you know what? We are okay. So I then, a friend of mine had, and just this day, I'll never forget, a friend of mine had came over, and she was in nursing school. She was, actually, we had our kids a couple days apart. We had gotten married, like, right by one another. And she was in nursing school. Her and her husband were completely living in the world. And I didn't realize then that when you're walking with God, you know, like, that's two different types of things. So what you can do and be okay, which is not really okay, but I can't stay in divine and walk with this and it be okay, because it's not okay. But I didn't see that then. So, she was in nursing school, and she was single momming, and she always dressed so cute, and I was like, you know, like, it made me just, like, so curious. She was always laughing, you know, like, it just seemed, you know, because it's like at home, or like what the outskirts look like. It could be dressed up, it could be so pretty and the cutest outfit, but you never know, like, behind closed doors, it's like the grass, like, kind of isn't greener. I didn't see that until after. Like, what this looks like is not really, like, what's going on. Because when I really stepped in and I seen it was complete destruction, that I didn't really realize what was going on. Because then, within a matter of no time, I was right there. That one night, she had came over, and I was just already like, man, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. And it was, I should have been more grounded in my faith, to where when times are hard, you know, like, I could have, you know, prayed my way through more and more than what I did, but it's okay. I realize that now. I bet it don't happen again. Or in Jesus' name, we're going to, you know, that. You know what I'm trying to say. So, But anyways, so she had asked me, Destiny, do you want to go out? I'm like, whoa, I've never done this before. Never. And I had never went out. I had never drank. Is there kids in here? Okay, no. Oh, okay, okay. My nephew keeps asking for me, and he's up here. um, but I had never went out. I had never done any of this. And the first night, I went out and I did it. And then here we are, spiraled, all the years later, because I couldn't walk in divine and where I was and think that that was okay, because it's not. I realized that there's not just one time. There's not just one time of doing it and being okay. I'm like, that's like me 1 foot in and 1 foot out it. But I'm so thankful for it. I just have to keep saying that, because for so long I lived in so much shame. Excuse me. I lived in so much shame and I lived in so much guilt, and it ate at me. Like, I didn't even want anyone to see me that I know. Now I'm like, hey, oh my goodness. Because I really mean that. Like, the Lord can deliver, the Lord can redeem, and like the forgiveness that he gives me, and now I'm able to forgive myself, and then my family can forgive me. Like, it's just just a domino effect. So, but anyway, I had went out that first night and I loved it. It was just like the loud music, oh my goodness, everybody thinks your outfit is so cute. Oh my gosh, what's your name? Like, it was just like, oh my goodness. It was just like and then also all the while, I'm numbing what I'm feeling. I'm numbing what I'm feeling. I'm going home and like now I didn't care, and it happened so fast, y'all, so quick. So one night turned into every other weekend. Every other weekend turned into every weekend. And then before you know it, it was just, I began losing and losing and losing and losing. All the while numbing and numbing and numbing and numbing, because what I was doing was I was just making the pile bigger, because I didn't want to feel this little. I see, or I'm able to understand it more if I do all this, so forgive me. But what I didn't realize was that I was just adding on to my pile versus taking away. Like, I was just making it deeper, like making it completely deeper. So the fighting turned into, or the arguing definitely turned into more than just that. The household was, it just fell apart. It fell apart. It was later on, I had became not just addicted to alcohol. I had started popping pills, and I wasn't feeling. I just wasn't feeling it all. But my guilt was literally something that was holding me so captive. Like, I couldn't look myself in the mirror. Like, myself, my family, my son, everyone who loves me. Like, I could not come to terms with accepting what I had done, and it just being okay. So I had just started numbing it and numbing it. And one night I had went out, and this very night in particular, a couple people that I had met, we had all like went in on, we were riding in this limo and downtown, just, oh my goodness, crazy. But they were leaving that night, and they were like, Destiny, come on. And I was like, no. I stayed behind at the bar, and I was taken that night. I was taken to Louisville, Kentucky, in the back of an 18-wheeler, but it was because Destiny didn't want to leave. Another thing, like Destiny, like trying to, I don't know how to explain it. It took, or that night, I was roofied, and I woke up in the back of an 18-wheeler, and it was on this white mattress, and all I felt was moving. Like, I didn't know where I was. I see this fridge and this microwave, and I'm just not knowing, like, what's going on. And then I hear the elastic pull apart, like in the back of a truck, which I didn't know what it looked like. But the guy turned around, and he was like, hello, Destiny. And, like, it was just the scariest thing. Can I have that water? Sorry. Excuse me. Hold on, buddy. Okay, so sorry, y'all, but so yeah, long story short, in that day in particular, it was like completely, man, y'all just don't understand. It was nothing but the Lord and how I was able to get out of this starting then. So check it out. In a long summary, I had the man was not really trying to take me back, wasn't like trying to do any of these things. The address said on the thing we were going to Tampa, Florida. And I was feeling so weird. I didn't know at this time what was like really going on. It wasn't that normal weird that I was feeling. I was just feeling weird, weird, weird. So anyways, hours had went on, hours had went on. I still was not able to get completely dressed. And he had taken, I was peeling the oranges and like for him, like trying to like be nice. He got upset. He threw his phone and didn't notice that it was a second one. He didn't notice that it was down there. So we had stopped. I got the phone. I went in the back. It was by the grace of God that the app Snapchat was on there, because it was just so random, like, that he just actually had it. And then I was able to actually get in his phone. It was just so many things that really wasn't random. It was the Lord keeping me then, because he knew later that I was going to come out of that. Like he knew that he was going to get me out of that, but I needed to go through it. I did. I needed to go through it. And I messaged my mom. I said, "Don't ask any questions. I'm in the back of a grayish, whitish, grayish, whitish 18-wheeler, with the Hispanic man. Come get me." She had sent so many messages, and I couldn't text back. I said all I could say, and so finally, hours and hours later, I'm like, oh my goodness, am I not, like, I was literally thinking, like, she's not going to find me. So next thing you know, there goes from 1 cop to 5 to 10 helicopters saying, "Passenger, pull over the vehicle." And I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So he was like really upset, to say the least, about what had happened, and he had hit me for one last time. And so he gets out of the car, and then I get out of the car, and they said, "Are you Destiny Murray?" And I said, "I am." He told me to step in front of the truck, and then I go over here, and there's a cop, and he says, "Are you Destiny?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." His name was Officer Mayui, and he said, "I've got her." And he was on the phone with my mom, and he just held me in his arms. And he waited for 5 hours until my mom got there. And it's so crazy because it could have ended right there. I could have went to Tampa, Florida. I could have stayed there, but the Lord had other plans. And so so I came back home, and you would have thought that scared me straight, but it didn't, because it wasn't that it didn't. I shouldn't say that, but it was just I was already going through enough in my mind, and then this just made it all worse. Who am I? I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to feel anything at all. Pastor Darrell, how long do I have? Oh, whew. Okay. So, um, sorry. But where was I? I had came back, and it wasn't that I wanted to stay there, because I didn't. It was hard. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I couldn't look my spouse in the mirror. He didn't even know what had happened. At this time, we were still living together. He didn't know what had happened for 2 weeks, because I was afraid to tell him. And I had like begged my mom to keep it from him, like I didn't want anything to be known. So then that had just escalated my whole situation. Like, I went through a little bit, but this was, and I had a hard childhood, and I had a whole hard these things, but then it just got worse. So that was a really hard thing, and I just didn't want to feel it. So everything just escalated. Like, I started numbing more and more and more, and so time had went on, and by this point, I was like never coming home. I mean, it was like I was coming home less than, or I was home less, I was leaving, I was gone more than I was at home. So at this point, there wasn't a home. And I had, we had lost the house. Well, he had moved out, and then it was left on me, in which he did the right thing. There was no, how do I say that? The situation had just went bad in all areas. And I was never there. It was obvious, he was going to leave. And at this point, my son's never seen his mom. My son's always asking, like, where is she? But my mind, I was already so held captive to this and not wanting to feel anything. It was so hard. It was so hard. And so, the house was left in my hands, and I can't keep up with this. I'm keeping up with everything that I'm wanting for me, so I lost it. It was just, and y'all, just so you know, this is just literally the brutal, honest truth and telling you, so it really can just show the redemption of what the Lord's done. It's a big deal for me to be able to just tell and show just what God has done, because only he could do it. Only he could take destiny out of this whole equation, just what God has done is just such a big deal. Oh my goodness. So I had lost the house, and a little while goes by. I've lost the house. Our marriage is pretty much at this point hanging on by a thread, which there's really not any marriage. We're just trying to figure out what's actually going to happen. And then we started, back up some, we had both started making some pretty unsmart choices. But mine was, I was in a deeper, headspace with it all, he, had taken our son, like I said, he had left. So fast forward, I had lost it all, the house, the husband, I still had my car at this point. And then I want to say I had my car wreck. I had gotten into a really bad car accident. The day before, a couple days before Valentine's Day. And I was intoxicated, and I had been up for quite a while, and I had ran into the brick wall going 70 miles per hour. I broke my neck, 30 screws down my spine almost. So I had a spinal infusion, and but there was already points prior to this where I would I gotta stop. I would want to come out of it, but it was just it was just almost impossible then, even though I wanted it so bad. It was just I wasn't equipped in that time to do it. I don't know how to say that other than also I don't think I had hit my rock bottom yet. That's the truth. And so I had broke my neck, and I had gotten prescribed pain pills after that. And this was just the icing to my cake. I mean, it was the icing to the cake completely. So shortly after that, time goes on. I had went to jail a couple of times, maybe for a DUI, and then my license got suspended from a DUI, so I got a driving on suspended, all silly things at this time. Wait, I say silly, but there's a reason why I say silly. So it's not silly, they're bad, but there's a reason. So later on, and by this time, my family is almost on their last straw. Actually, there's a half of a straw left at this point, because so many times they've heard, I'm done. I'm changed this time, and I would mean it right then, but it just 2 days later, and so, but it's so cool, being able to like really look back then and just say like I should have like the Lord, I should have allowed. No, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Never mind. I sometimes I catch myself like I can't say the should-haves because I know that where I am is where I should be. So that's why I just stopped myself from what I was thinking, not just what I was trying to say, because I should be where I am right now. And I know that. So, but anyways, I'm on the half of the last straw with all my family. They don't trust me. They don't believe nothing. I don't believe nothing. And it was just really a floating through life at this time. And so by this point, I had lost custody of my son. And it was just like I was doing things, that thing I keep saying where I'm like piling and piling and piling. Well, so I would be on this pile and it would hurt me so bad and my guilt would hit me so hard, I'm going to numb it more. So then when I go to numb it more, I'm making a bigger pile every single time. But I kept thinking, this pile is going to be different. No. No. So, I had lost my son, and when that happened, oh my goodness, it was devastating. Then I thought, my mom is so mean, like my family, how dare they? But what? They did like what should have been done for my son at that time. Like my mind was not in the right space to where I could care for myself, let alone my precious baby. So I'm thankful in that time that when I couldn't make decisions for my own, that I had a family who did stand by me that would help take care of my children, including my young siblings in time when I wasn't capable of doing that, so it's not a bad thing. I thought it was then and I swore by it, but it's such a beautiful thing that I was able to be equipped with that. So anyways, later on, a couple months and months later, I had came down to Nashville, and there obviously is things, in between, but I'm trying to just pin like big moments. So I had came down to Nashville, I went down to Nashville. I say came down because I'm down there, but we're here. Went down to Nashville, and I had I didn't want to be seen here. Like, I didn't want to go anywhere and be seen. I didn't want to face, because here, like in this room, it's people who love me. Like I know this is people that love me, and I couldn't look y'all in the face. I just couldn't, but it's so beautiful to be able to be here now and like look you in the face, hug you, and just, oh my goodness. Yes, thank you. But so I had went back down there kind of, and I was partying some more. Well, this time is when it all really changed. I had met some people who had introduced me to a lifestyle that I didn't know existed. Like I had seen like bad things happen like on TV, but I didn't really know that it was so real until I was there. So there was things that like throughout it that I was obviously still drinking and taking and drinking and taking. And then I kind of had went under the control of these guys who were seeing that what like this vulnerable, like girl who's down here alone, like I didn't see that then. I didn't see what was really happening. And like my family's not going to listen. Why would they listen? Because I've told them so many things. They don't know what's true and what's not. So like completely. And I was so mad at that then too. Like, why won't they listen? Well, I know why they didn't listen, So I had met these guys, and long story, or in summary, it was just what they said. Like what they said went. And then so much so even then, like even when they weren't saying, it was like my mind was like, I don't know, just like there with it. Like it was like I always felt like I needed to go back and answer to him. Like it was just like a compulsion, like, or I don't know the right word, like I guess a compulsion type thing, like, and I was just like under what they were pretty much like telling me to do. So a, a big mind control for sure. Thank you, Kelly. So I had, excuse me, I had throughout this time to get to the, I had made some choices that were on my own, some choices that weren't on my own. But these guys definitely had complete mind control over me, and sometimes they would let me leave, sometimes they wouldn't. But it and sometimes they would make me stay for longer periods of time, and sometimes they wouldn't. And it is so crazy how much of a control I really was under. And then I had gotten myself into a situation. So I had went into a time where I was running out of, like, when it came time to, I needed more money. I needed more money, and I needed more money. So when I say like was in a time where I sold myself short, I did. I sold myself short, and I done things that I shouldn't have done to myself. And it's so crazy because that piece right there was so hard to own up to myself, admit that to me, but let alone someone else. But it's not who I am. It's just what happened in that time and what I did. So I had sold myself really short, and those guys they knew about it, and they knew what was going on. So that's all they needed to hear. When that happened, it was not just mind control. It was mind, body, physical control, all that. The control was all there. So they had, it was like, I don't know the words other than there was definitely like pieces of like trafficking going on in there in a terms of, I don't know how to explain it. Not like a big thing, like going to Tampa, like, but a big thing, if that makes sense. And this very last night, so it had just gotten like really, really bad. This very last night, and a lot had happened, but this very last night, when I had seen these guys for the last time, there was someone else that was there, and money was being taken, and I was, they had started hitting him, and I was like, stop hitting him so hard. This is the last thing that I said to him. And throughout that time, though, I was noticing like behaviors that were starting to, like, they were starting to do weird things, and I felt, man, yet again, I felt something coming, but I always used to avoid those feelings that I would get when it was almost like the Holy Spirit, like, Destiny, like, and I used to, like, it was just like, but I was so asleep to being able to, like, listen to anything. Like, even when it's actually literally happening, I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't live that. So I was beginning to notice things that were going on and weird behavior. So after they had that had happened, and I was like, you guys are hitting him too hard. It turned that they switched all that from him over to me. So they had told me he came up to me and he had put a gun to my head, and he was like, B-word, you thought this was a game? You thought this was a game? And when I tell you, I was told to pretty much just like empty myself in every way. And I was just hit and hit and hit. My head was going in and out of a mop bucket. And it was just, I thought my life was over. I literally thought that day that was the day that I wasn't going to come back from. And so it went on for a little bit of time. But I woke up and they were all gone. And it had scared me straight to where I wasn't doing a lot of the things that the behaviors, like the physical behaviors. It scared me like, oh no, I wasn't doing that anymore. But I was still definitely taking pills, and I was still definitely drinking. But I had changed my scenery. I had went to Franklin, and I was working again too, but I was still numbing everything. Nothing had changed on the inside. It was just I was keeping myself safer. But it was a eye opener for me, but it wasn't what really opened my eyes. So a few months go on, and a lot of crazy stuff, like I said, isn't happening. I was working. Sorry, y'all. I was working, and I had a good roommate. I had like not bad of things going on, but not good. But anyway, so there was a house party that had happened. They had came, and the cops had came. They ran everyone's IDs. Now, mind you, I wasn't worried. Like, I didn't think that there was anything that was going to be with my name. Like, I just didn't. I don't know how that I did it, because I just didn't, though. So he had ran my ID, and he was like, Miss Murray, put your hands behind your back. We're taking you, or you have warrants in Davidson County for kidnapping and robbery. And I was devastated, because I knew what had happened, but nobody else did. And, I forgot to tell you a crazy part. At the end, when that guy had happened, or before the guys had left, he pulled my ID out of my bag, and he had my sunglasses on the whole time, like on or up and down. And they had knew that I was living with my grandmother previously. So he took my ID, and he said, say something if you want to. I'm going to Mama's house. So I didn't get to say a word. When I was asked questions of what had happened, I didn't say even what kind of hair that they had, because at this point, like, I don't know what is going to happen. And I was so angry, and I was so hurt, and I was just so devastated. But I couldn't tell these people that were coming in to try to talk to me nothing that had really happened. So when I first had got arrested, I was so angry. I was so hurt, and I had so many why me's, like, why me's, what, like, why God, like, what is this? And I thought my life was over. And I remember I had, like, within 2 months, I had gotten like 2 or 3 write-ups, because I was just so angry. Like, I was acting out. Like, I thought, like, I had gotten told that I was facing 25 years. And so finally, I had went to segregation, and I was in that cell. But throughout this whole time, I have to make sure that I add that in. I knew that God was still there throughout all that, but I completely ran from even trying to admit that, or like ran from like those thoughts. Well, I was in segregation, and this is where it all began. I was crying out, and I was crying out, and I really, really, really meant it this time. I'm sorry, y'all. I really meant it this time. Like, God, forgive me. Like, I know what I've done. Lord, I need you. Like, have a works in me. Like, I had began crying out to God over and over. Thank you. Over and over. Oh, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I had begun crying out to God over and over and over again. And it was, you guys, it was clear as day. It was like, my child, like, I have you. Literally. And literally from that day, I was on month 2 in there, and I spent 2 years. And you guys, the Lord, from that day on, me and God, we haven't turned back. Like we're like this. And so it was in this dark season. I'm still facing the same thing that I was facing before I went in, but the way that I was facing it was totally different. I came out of there, like they were even like, D, what happened? The Lord. The Lord. And throughout this time and throughout this season, like I was known as like the happy dingy white girl that loved Jesus. I had started going up close and personal, like me and the Lord hardcore again. And I actually was honest with him too. Like I was like, Lord, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I know that when they say talk to God like that, like I just told him, like I was just so like, as if he was right here, like, Lord, what do I do? I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm going to trust you. And when I said that, I meant it. Like I really meant what I was saying. And so I had began like just digging in and began to start speaking the Lord's word like over my life again, and like believing that. Because the cool thing is that back then when the Lord was leading, I had a major encounter and knew who the Lord was even back then. Like I knew who the Lord was. And so I held on to that. Like it was like I know that even back then there was no denying who God was. I like he was right there. I knew. But this time was just intimate. It was like completely like intimate. And I had began digging in and with myself, and I had began leading like Bible study, and I had begun like my prayer life was like never before. Like not like Miss Destiny, what my preschoolers used to call me, like Destiny Hope. And so my middle name is Hope, and my family's always told me that it's my destiny to bring hope to others. And like I didn't know what that meant. But I do. Oh, I need to hurry. So I didn't know what that meant. I'm almost done. So time had went on, and like it was so much so even when I wasn't leading Bible study, like they would be like, what is going on? Like, are you okay? And it was so crazy because even in this dark, hectic season, when I was facing things that I knew that I really did not do, but nobody else knew that, I had reached out. My attorney had like reached out to this guy a couple of times, like, hey, can you come forth, and tell somebody? But we never got a response. But then we finally did. But it was like the Lord had had me plant my feet. Then He knew that I was gonna get that letter. He knew that somebody was gonna speak on my behalf. But in that time, He used that time. And I know that He did, and it's so crazy to say. But sometimes I was hard-headed. And I'm just so thankful for that season, man. So I had finally, I was just trusting the Lord. Like they would always be like, how are you so happy in here? And it was just nothing but the Lord. That's what I would always say. I actually had somebody, hey, go see Aunt Caleb. I had actually had I had like led a couple of girls to the Lord, and I was always told, you are so understandable. We understand you. And they would always tell me, we know you got God in you. So like it was cool, those two sentences, like being told in this dark place, like that they can understand me, and also that they know like the Lord is there. So it was so cool. And then it was just like pouring in and then them pouring out and then pouring in. There was a couple girls who had like started doing it. This one girl, she was like, she was Jehovah's Witness, and she actually called me a few months back, and she was like, I'm off to the penitentiary, but I just want to tell you, because of you, I have the Lord, and I'm okay, Destiny, and started laughing and like started crying as she was talking. And that right there was just so beautiful, like it was dark, yes, it was, but I had the Lord throughout it all. And like I had a major encounter. And so finally, this guy had responded to my attorney, and she was like, Miss Murray, I'm coming down there to meet with you, and we're gonna sit down and talk. And at this point, I'm like, what's next? Like, what is happening? I didn't know what to expect, but I was prepared. Like, I was prepared. Like, I had that little bit of like, oh my goodness, because in that season, when you don't know what's going to happen, it is like a little bit of hectic, but I felt secure. Like, I felt secure in what it was, and the Lord knew that too. It's so funny how God works. But, so, the guy had responded, and he pretty much pled my innocence to them. He told them that when they were doing things, I was telling them to stop. And he owned up and told them like how it all happened, what I was being, told to do in that time. And then how they had turned on me at the end, that I didn't leave states with, like, he pled all this stuff that someone else needed to hear, because I couldn't tell them. I couldn't tell them. And it was just then, like, I was like, oh my gosh. Like 2 years later, like it was just so crazy. Like, that is what set me free. Like, the Lord, hold on. The Lord had set me free completely. But this letter was everything that we were waiting on. Even if we didn't get the letter, I know that the Lord would have made it happen. But this had opened the door for, it to be done. So by this point, it was a completely overwhelming, like, of just gratefulness and joy. And I had kind of already had, like, a feeling like something was getting ready to happen. And the foundation was already, like, set for me. Like, the way that I encountered the Lord before was different. Like, this was a real encounter. Like, this was a real up close and personal encounter. Like, this was a redeeming time in my life. I'm talking day in and day out. I had nothing but me and God. And Miss Ina, I needed that. I needed it. So, long story in conclusion, I was set free, and the Lord has since then. I've been home for about a year, and I had came home, and I've gotten a really good job. I am really in my church home is like, it's so everything to me. I'm a member at Cross Point. They are so aware of my story. I found them while I was in jail. They actually lead a study in there. And so they were like there with me while I was there. And then I came home and, like there, and they're right down the road from me. So it's just crazy cool how God had it all mapped out and I didn't even see it, So they know it all, and they accept for where, I was with it all. And so anyways, they have been there. I go there every Tuesday, every Sunday. I'm not missing a beat unless I'm home back here. I've now gotten custody with my kids back. I have now my church, I was given a car, a brand new, or not brand new. It's a 2016 car. They got me a car. They paid for my insurance for a whole year. My family, my relationships are so, like, restored. Like, my family is, like, they're trusting me again. They're, loving all on me again. But all of this, in conclusion, it all is so hectic. And it's all so much. But I'm so thankful of where, like, God has me with it now. Like, it's just like a living proof of, like, You know, my sins are forgiven. You know, like when he died on the cross for my sin or our sins, you know, like he shed his blood. So like, and I believe like the trials that you go through in life, like set you like to get you where like you need to go. And I used to not think that, but I know that this is where, you know, the Lord has it. Like I feel now that I understand the wording, like the Lord's word just so much more. Like, oh man, God, I really understand. And so it's so cool how like someone like me who was like, I had turned I had turned into someone who I didn't even know, but the Lord really does work, and the Lord really can restore, and his forgiveness does work. His love is so. I was looking my sister in the face last night, and I was like, but it's because I know. I wouldn't keep telling you. I promise. I know that I know. He's real. He's there. And y'all, the truth is, he never left. Time and time again, I could have lost my life. Time and time again, I was in a bad, unsafe thing. Time and time again, I had, went through all these things, but I realized that since I was a child, I had things that I wasn't healed from. That, it just like kept leading and kept leading and kept leading. But now, thanks to the Lord and the hardcore therapy that I've done and like the hardcore acceptance, like what it is that the Lord had planned for my life a long time ago, I'm thankful that I can like look you in your face and say like, Kim, the Lord's been here this whole time, and that his redeeming love is amazing and good, and that's all I got.